As Muslims mark the end of Ramadan, the plight of those trapped in Gaza is the main focus of attention. As Iranians celebrated the feast of Eid al-Fitr, the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, addressed crowds in Tehran and criticized Israeli aggression against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. It's a genocide committed by the Zionist regime. It's a catastrophe of history. Those who support the people responsible for these crimes must be condemned. The whole world, above all the Islamic world, must arm the Palestinians. Meanwhile, Hamas leader Khalid Mishal, speaking in Doha, said that Hamas had nothing to do with the kidnapping and murder of 3 Israeli teenagers that sparked the latest cycle of Israeli-Palestinian violence. He said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu jumped to conclusions in order to justify his aggression against the Palestinians.
Well, good morning from St. Petersburg. And it looks like he said that the Palestinians, he said, should be armed. So I guess we can look forward to Iran getting involved in this, which means there's a good possibility that the United States is going to get involved in this. This is I just wanted to see a little bit of the news. As you can see, Gaza is still burning. When I went to bed, they were bombing them, and we'll see how today goes. But, you know, Iran may get involved. Jordan may get involved. And this thing may escalate. I know, you know, a few years back, people had said that if World War III was going to break out, it would be because of the Middle East, what's going on in the Middle East. You know, World War II broke out because of what was happening in Europe. I think that with the mentality of the Middle East, there's nothing short of wiping them out. This is not going to be a place where peace is an option. This is not going to be a place where you win a war. We may be looking at some type of total annihilation of one side or the other, which could include the United States. Iran, many places have called for the destruction of the United States. They did the same with Israel, the destruction of Israel, not the peace with Israel, not learning to live with Israel. It's the destruction of Israel. And I believe that's why Netanyahu is fighting so hard. You know, this isn't going to work any other way. And children are going to die. And that's what they are trying to do, tug on the heartstrings of the world. And the world has to understand that this is not going to get better. It's going to get worse as long as people keep poking and people keep supporting war. Israel will fight to the end. Israel is not going to settle. And they are preparing. They have been prepared. And this is a result. They're talking about this being caused by the three teenagers. I don't believe this was caused by three teenagers being killed. Three Jewish teenagers being killed. It may have sparked it, but this is definitely not the cause. This is deeply rooted. A lot of people in the world don't want the world to have Jews. If the Jews are eliminated, they won't call it a genocide. If the United States is eliminated, they won't call it a genocide. And I think that the Middle East, the leaders, the oligarchs, understand that if you poke the United States like you do Israel, you stand to have your country destroyed like Iraq. Afghanistan survived. Not intact, but it survived. Because I don't think there's any real infrastructure like a lot of places have, cities, big cities. I think the countries with big cities and that have infrastructure and they're established aren't too excited about going to any kind of a war. But a country that, like the Gaza Strip, they have those 3, 4, 5-story buildings, no real infrastructure, don't seem to have a problem with going to war. And as a result, it's going to be destroyed. You could see it right there to the right. Maybe they're taller than 5 stories, but if them are the same buildings that we looked at, they didn't look much higher than 5 stories. So, I wonder, what do we got here? We got the news media setting up out here. Is that what's going on? Are these observers, or it's just, this is just the strangest war, because we're able to watch it, like I said, like a basketball game, and pick sides and pick favorite players and villains, and it's just, I don't know what we're becoming, but this is what we're becoming. They used to worry about video games, kids in video games, and what it was doing to the kids. And then we got drones, and the video games pretty much is what a drone is, how a drone operates. And now we watch war on the internet. I think television news may become a thing of the past here in the near future. The internet is taking over, live stream is taking over. There's not going to be much need for a newscaster to get out there and tell us what's going on and tell us what we're looking at. Although they still come in handy, I think what the people want is to see and judge for themselves. They don't want to be told. We don't want to be told. I don't want to be told. As a matter of fact, I'm turning the news off a lot more often than I used to, because I don't like to be told. I've gotten used to live stream and seeing for myself. But then I do go back to the news to look at for the things that I don't see, that I'm not able to see, that are in the news. Like who is Hamas? How did Hamas get to be? A lot of people on the internet are saying that Israel actually created Hamas. So I looked it up, and it turns out that what they're saying is, the way that I figured it is that it's kind of like If you have a sore, for example, say you cut yourself, and you don't take care of it, but not only do you not take care of it, you abuse it. And let's say it's on your finger, and instead of, wrapping it up, putting medicine on it, taking care of it, keeping it clean, you work with dirt and stuff that could cause that cut to get infected. Well, in a sense, you created the infection by not taking care of it right away. And that's what happened here. Israel didn't put Hamas in place. Israel didn't take care of it and stop it from getting infected. So you get the pro-Palestinians, the pro-Hamas, and they take something like that and they twist it. They just twist it a little bit, and they say Israel actually created Hamas. And then you think, well, the United States created Saddam Hussein and a lot of other leaders around the world. But then to me it goes back to the infection. What happens is that with Saddam Hussein did used to be on the same side as the United States. When Iraq was fighting Iran, the United States supported Iraq and its leaders. And then when Iraq got a foothold and said, okay, pretty much like what Egypt did with Morsi, and Iraq did it too. When it was time to go, President Obama told them, okay, well, we'll stay, but under these conditions. And they said no. If they did the same thing in Afghanistan, we'll stay, but under these conditions. And they said no. So we left, and the country went to war with itself right away. Didn't waste any time fighting over that oil. Now a lot of people are trying to say that there's something in Gaza that the Jews want. I don't know what's in Gaza that anybody could want. Maybe natural gas? I don't know. But I don't see anything being developed in the areas that the Jews take over. To me, it looks like they are just building this great big old buffer zone so that those rockets can't hit Israel. If Iran starts to support Hamas, then there will be no Gaza. There'll be the West Bank. And if the West Bank starts up, there won't be any West Bank. So the people of Palestine, the people of Gaza, the people of the West Bank have to decide. And they have to understand that putting your baby on camera isn't working. Sacrificing your family isn't working. And they also have to understand that Israel may stop bombing, but it will never trust the people of Gaza. There will always be this tension for generations to come. And like I said the other day, we have that here in the United States. We have black people and Indians and a lot of different groups that were oppressed. I mean, really oppressed. A long time ago that haven't forgotten. And still bring it up. And still, to today, are oppressed in certain ways by white people. And this is basically a war between dark people and light people. The Israelis are basically what you would call white. And the Palestinians are basically what you would call black. A dark-skinned people, people of color. And that's what it looks like to me. It looks like a race war to me. Of course, it's you can throw in religion if you want to. But then when you do that, you have to add in the Christians. And that ain't exactly what this area wants to do. Of course, worldwide, I believe there's more Muslims than Christians worldwide. But that's, you count China, and you can go to different parts of the world that, I don't think I don't know, but I'll probably learn today, the difference between Islam and being a Muslim. I'm not really clear on that, but I will be today. I'll do a little bit of Googling. I just got up, waiting for my coffee, and watching Gaza burn. And that's reality. People say that's cold-hearted, but yesterday I was looking at Denver, and what a difference. I was watching a tornado in Denver. Thank you. I was watching a tornado in Denver yesterday, and looking at how beautiful the Denver area is. At the same time, on another screen, I was watching Gaza being bombed. That's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. And if you live in Gaza, you may think that's the way the world is. And that's why these kind of wars go on and on and on, because nobody ever broadens their horizon. The people in Israel are world travelers. They come from all over the world to live in Israel. And there's Christians and Muslims, Americans, Chinese, Japanese, you name it, they're in Israel. But when you come to Gaza, it's a little bit different. Again, it's like a reservation. It's one kind of thinking, one kind of people. There's Christians and there's Jews in Gaza. But they think the way the Islamic people think. Gaza should have went to war with itself a long time ago. That's what Gaza should have done. The West Bank should go to war with itself while it can. Otherwise, this is the West Bank's future. They were protesting in the West Bank the other day. And as countries like Iran that hate the United States, that hate Israel, get involved, countries like Jordan get involved, even if it's just talking. I'm sure that they're sneaking weapons into Gaza. But you've got to go through Israel or Egypt to get to Gaza. And that's what those tunnels were about. They weren't about getting medicine. They weren't about getting food and supplies. They were about getting weapons. And now Iran is calling to arm Hamas. Well, Iran is able to act like a tough guy as long as Russia. I don't know how involved China is in Iran, but as long as it has them two countries, or at least one of them countries, backing them, they can act pretty tough. But the reality is Iran, like Hamas, stands alone. There's not a bunch of people following Iran around. Now, if all of these Arab nations would unite and work together, I don't think they'd be so interested in war. But to me, they just remind me of gangs, different gangs. And, they don't really have common goals. This is my gang, this is my territory, and we're going to do what we have to do to survive. And that's what it looks like they're doing. They're different gangs. Iran is a gang because they're not very big. I don't know how many of these countries you would have to put together to equal the same population as China. As the United States. Over 300 million people in the United States that don't give a shit if Gaza survives.
It's 7 o'clock.
Or not. They aren't going to work. They may talk a little bit, but they're not going to work worried if Gaza survives or not. And that ain't my imagination. Like I said yesterday, the Denver area, was under threat of a tornado. And they went live. There was a Channel 9 News went live. So I switched. I got the information from one of the live stream channels, which is always a good idea to come to my site and watch all of the live stream channels, irregardless of what somebody tells you. Come to our site. It's a very, very informative site. There's always somebody talking about something. And right in the middle of the Gaza war, one of the channels posted that Denver, Colorado was under tornado watch. Well, my ears perked up and I started Googling, and I happened to find a live camera shooting the tornado, which it's that little video is on our site now. And I recorded it and I kept it. And on another screen I was watching Gaza being attacked. Well, the people in the Denver area didn't seem, well, you can't tell from the air, but I live in the United States. I pretty much got a pulse on what's going on in the United States, and you could see that the people aren't worried about what happens in Gaza. Now, if Iran, for example, brought an army along the borders of Israel, through Jordan, for example, I'm going to bring up a map here pretty quick and have a look at how far Iran is from, and we have maps on our site too. Whatever it takes to keep informed, I try to get it on our site. We have pages where, there's the latest news, just the facts, and, we have a whole page and links about Gaza because I've been interested in Gaza lately. And we've even got a glossary of some of the words that get used, and then we have our chat boxing and Scatter the Chatter. But we do have maps, and on the maps it has a button that you can see the weather in that area. And I don't know if I've got the Gaza map in the maps. If not, I'll have to get that in there. But no, I don't. I do have a map of Gaza. I'll have to have Gaza put in there on the Gaza page. And I've got Israel too. So I'm going to take a little look at Gaza. I'm here on the map now, and kind of zoom it around and just see exactly what Israel has to deal with. Now, from what I could see, the Dead Sea, I mean, fresh water isn't something these people have abundance of. Here's a little lake. Well, it's probably not too little, but there's a lake in Ismailia. I guess that's how you say it. But from what I can see, Jordan and Lebanon, Israel is surrounded by Jordan, Lebanon. Let me see if I can get this a little smaller. And Egypt. Let me get this a little smaller. Okay. This is what Israel is dealing with. It is surrounded by Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Libya. These are just the countries that are bordering. It looks like Iraq does border. Maybe not. Iraq is bordering Jordan. It's kind of hard to tell. Let me see if I can get this a little bit bigger. Okay, Iraq borders Jordan, and Jordan borders Israel, and Egypt borders Israel, and Lebanon. Let's see if Lebanon does. Possibly Lebanon. I can't tell. Let me see if I can get this a little bit bigger. Okay, we've got Jordan, Lebanon, and Egypt, really. It looks like would be the country That was a hell of an explosion there. And like I said, Israel ain't playing. They aren't going to listen to somebody come in and tell them about peace. You want peace? Stop firing rockets at Israel. Stop attacking Israel. And stop attacking Israel forever. Because they've had it. That explosion right there said a lot. That was big. Probably the biggest one I've seen. And like I said, this is all happening live. We have records of this for all time. And as time goes on, the Palestinian people, the Islamic people, the Muslims, whatever you want to call them, are going to look back at this and say, yes, this is what Israel did to us. But I don't look at it that way. Because you've decided to fight with Israel for whatever reasons, religious, whatever reasons, possessed you to commit suicide like this. That's the way I see it. You're committing suicide. And now it's getting to the point where you can't stop it until it's over. Until Israel feels safe. Most people have a military for this reason, to protect the people. The United States has a pretty good sized military. I don't know exactly how many, but our military is in the millions. A small amount in comparison to what they have to protect. Over 300 million people. Israel, everybody has to join the military and defend the country. And like these weasels that decide that they're not going to do it, in the United States you would be considered a traitor. You can't just decide what war you're going to fight. Boy, they are bombing the hell out of them. Look at this shit. This is I mean, if Gaza thinks that Israel is going to slow down just because they carry their babies in front of cameras, they can forget that tactic. That tactic is not working for them. This is what Hamas did. And people blame Israel and say that they created Hamas. That's ridiculous. But, if you start where you want to start and end where you want to end, you can say that Israel created Hamas. But you'd be wrong. You'd be wrong. And like I said, it'd be like saying gay people created AIDS. You'd be wrong. No, Israel just darkened the skies. And they are going to continue to do this until the Palestinian people wake up and move against the people that is causing this, which is Hamas. And any other radical group that decides Israel doesn't have a right to exist. How could you want peace and then out of the other side of your mouth say Israel doesn't have a right to exist? And then think you're going to sit in a place where a group is firing rockets at Israel and be safe? How can you be that stupid? As people are carrying their kids, because I'm sure somebody just died there, no matter what, I'm sure somebody died there. That was just too big not to have somebody die. But then again, I don't know. Maybe the people wised up and left the area. They were told to. All last night, Israel was firing flares in the air. If you were under that flare, I would leave. I'd be sitting on Egypt's door. I'd be calling my cousins in Iran. I would be trying to get the hell out of there. And again, not everybody is going to be able to leave. But you better get back away from that, because I see they're not bombing too much inside the cities, but if they have intelligence that says that they're setting up rockets, for example, where this camera is at, I'm sure that these cameramen are in contact with the Israeli forces, and the Israeli ooh, there goes another one. Holy smokes. They are moving into the city closer. See, because they're pushing Hamas back. And Hamas is coming into the city with their rockets and saying that they ain't. But, you couldn't even see that come in. So at this point we don't know if a rocket went up in the air and came straight down. We don't know. I didn't even see where that came from. I mean, that's something. A rocket comes in that fast, and the next thing that you see is an explosion. What people aren't getting is when they say precision. I've seen them take out. There was something. Did you see that? I don't know if it was a bird or what that was, but something just went straight down behind them trees there. Maybe it didn't explode. It was just like a black thing went straight down. But they use these drones, and what the drone does is it lasers in on the target, and then the rocket comes. And that's how they do it. They do it on the ground. They'll get soldiers in on the ground, and they'll call in the coordinates, or it's just done with GPS. They don't even have to call it in. They lock in, and then with the sophisticated weaponry that the United States has, that Israel has, then boom, whatever is there isn't there anymore. And when smoke clears, whatever was there isn't there anymore. And the people of Gaza have to understand this. They are not safe anywhere in Gaza. And I'll tell you what, it is starting to thin out. Whatever was there isn't there anymore. They just boom, leveled all of that. And when this smoke clears, there isn't going to be anything there. I mean, here in the United States, when a tornado comes, you run for cover. Is that a bird going up in the air? That black thing there? What is that? I don't know if it's something in the screen, because this distortion, the smoke is distorting the pixels on the screen. I don't know, but it's coming back down. Is it an aircraft of some sort? Is it a drone flying over there? And now I don't know if you can see it on a smaller screen. I've got a pretty good sized screen here as my monitor, and I'm able to see something black there moving around. Now it's down behind this air vent, whatever this thing is here that's in the way of the camera. But then were some serious explosions, and whatever was there isn't there anymore. I'm sure. Oh, there they go again. They hit it again and again. And this is the way we deal with war. In 2014, we live stream it, and it's all being recorded for the world to see. And they were warned over and over and over, and Israel is saying, Don't fire rockets. Don't build tunnels. And they did it anyway. Because they thought that the world was going to see the dead babies. They made the first dead babies. And this is real. This is real. And that had to be a hell of a shock. I'm messing up by not... Darn it, I didn't have this audio. And they pray no matter what. Look at that. That is insanity. I think that thing there is a speaker, not an air vent. That might be it's a speaker. That's they fill their air with this pray. They pray like that, and to me that's like a brainwashing thing. And this is why they die, because they are so entrenched in this religion that they can't see past it. And when you isolate yourself, like a lot of cults do here in the United States, you can't see past it. So even watching this here from our computers, when those bombs hit, I'm sure that a lot of people jumped. I didn't have my audio on because the commercials will, they come on some of these channels that I was trying to monitor, and I turned the audio off, going out to the people that are watching my channel, or that will watch it later on. But there goes another one. I would stop praying, I would get off my knees, and I would start running. I would wait until the world is a better place before I even think about praying. Because it ain't working. And this isn't the first time, but it is getting worse for Gaza. And that's why Gaza gets smaller. They say that this was caused by the 3 Jewish teenagers that were killed. I don't think so. This is caused by Hamas shooting rockets. Did Hamas start shooting rockets after Israel started bombing? Did Israel just come in and bomb because 3 teenagers were killed? Or did Israel come in and start bombing after they start shooting rockets? Did they start shooting rockets because soldiers came in and killed, according to them, a Palestinian, tortured him, killed him? Then they start shooting rockets, and now they're saying that Israel start bombing them because the 3 teenagers were killed, and they said it wasn't even Hamas. It was a cell of Hamas. And that's the way they lie. That wasn't us. That was somebody we don't even control. We don't even control those people. None of our people that we control did that. But they were Hamas. They were another faction of Hamas. But when you hear the story from Hamas leaders, they say that wasn't even Hamas. I don't control that factor. It's kind of like gangs. here in the United States. You can run around saying you're a Crip or you're a Blood or whatever the gangs are, but you know, you don't pay dues to the Big Daddy Crips and the Big Daddy Bloods. So when you do something, you weren't a Crip or a Blood. You were just a little wannabe Crip and Blood gang. Well, that's what Hamas is saying, that the people who killed them 3 teenagers weren't part of Hamas. They were a group that broke away or never really got jumped in, whatever they call it. They weren't part of Hamas, but they were part of Hamas. That's what they said. But I'll tell you what was there ain't there no more. And that's the way it's going to happen. And they're just making a sweep, and they're just coming closer and closer and closer until there is no more Gaza. Because no matter what, Israel will never be able to trust the people of Gaza, even though you say you're peaceful. I mean, the military has to protect the people of Israel. And part of that protection is intelligence. They got to go in and find who these people are, who they're associated with. And what that one person from Israel was saying earlier was that they are arresting people in Israel and putting them in jail without charging them. This is war. He doesn't get it. Israel is at war. Normal rules do not apply. When you're at war, don't expect rights. They don't know who you are. That's the facts. But boy, they just bombed the hell out of something. And this cameraman is doing everything he can to see what it was, or to document what is there now and what may not be there by the end of the day. I was throwing away, I was deleting a lot of this stuff. I won't be deleting it anymore, because I want to go back and see what isn't there anymore. And this cameraman is doing his best to zoom in and show us what isn't there anymore, because those were pretty big. Whatever they hit isn't there anymore. I'm an hour and 22 into this, and I'm going to archive before it does it for me.